Okay, so have you ever like tried to, I don't know, stuff like a week's worth of clothes into a suitcase that's,
Yeah.
way too small?
Yeah.
It's all about volume, right?
It is.
We're doing a deep dive today on 14 how big, how heavy dot PDF. And get this, it starts with a kid who like reinvents measuring with marbles.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
It's actually, if you think about it, it's a really clever way to show, like, really basic idea. Like, we use measurement, we just take it for granted.
Yeah.
But this kid, Sarika, she's showing us, like, the really basic intuitive part of it. She's basically figuring out volume by, like, displacement.
Oh, okay.
Just like Archimedes in the bathtub.
Archimedes. Okay, now you gotta tell me this story. But first, back to Sarika. So she's dropping marbles in a glass.
Yeah.
And what? Making her own like measuring lines. I
Right.
kind of love that.
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
essentially like making her own, like, those graduated cylinders?
Right.
She's making her own. Every marble is like 1 unit of volume. And what's so cool is that it shows how it's about the space that something takes up. Doesn't matter what shape it is.
Oh, okay.
A marble, a 5 rupee coin,
Right.
they all push away the same amount of water.
5 rupee coins. That's next level thinking.
Yeah.
Though I have to say, I've totally used like coffee mugs to measure water for my plants.
Yeah.
Maybe not like the most scientific method, but it works.
It works. It gets the job done.
Speaking of scientific, though,
Yeah.
at some point we got to like ditch the marbles
Right.
and get to the official stuff.
Right.
Cubic centimeters. Is that where that comes in?
Exactly. Because, homemade systems, they're cool.
Right.
But imagine if, like, scientists were comparing their results and they were all using, like, their favorite teacup or whatever to measure. It'd be chaos.
Oh, yeah. That'd be rough.
So we need those standard units, like milliliters, cubic centimeters. That's how we talk about this stuff in science, so we can all be on the same page.
That makes total sense. It's like having a universal language.
Exactly.
But going back to cubic centimeters, I'm picturing these teeny tiny cubes. How do they connect to this whole marble thing?
Think of them like building blocks. So Sarika had her marbles, right?
Right.
Her building blocks. But now we're using something smaller, more exact. Cubic centimeters. The source talks about building a stage out of matchboxes.
Oh, okay.
Each box, that's your unit of volume. You stack them up, you can really see the volume no matter what the shape is.
Okay, so instead of like a messy pile of marbles, we're talking like nice, neat, stacked boxes.
Exactly.
And we can count those boxes to get the total volume,
Yes.
no matter how crazy the shape is.
Precisely. And this brings us something really important. You can have lots of different shapes with the exact same volume.
Whoa, that's kind of mind-blowing.
It is.
It's like that, you know how they say don't judge a book by its cover?
Right.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
don't assume you know how much fits inside just from looking at it.
Exactly. And that's like that idea, it's really important, like in engineering design, all sorts of things.
Oh, okay.
Think about designing something like a car engine.
Right.
You want to fit in as much power as you can, make it run as good as possible, but it has to be small.
Right.
Or even just packing a backpack to go hiking, which, the source talks about that.
Right.
Getting everything to fit, not be too heavy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Speaking of the backpacking, the source mentions these students. They're getting ready to go on this trek to Gangotri, and they like dehydrate onions and tomatoes to pack them, which I don't know, it's kind of brilliant.
It is. It shows just how much, like, the water in our food, how much it weighs.
Oh, yeah.
The source says when they dry those veggies, it shrinks a whole kilogram down to just 100 grams. That's pretty wild, especially for hikers, right?
Yeah, that's a huge difference. Every ounce counts when you're carrying it all on your back.
It makes you wonder, though, did people always know that about, like, drying food? Was that just a happy accident, or did they figure it out?
Probably a little of both. I mean, drying food, it's really about getting rid of the moisture
Oh, okay.
so it won't go bad.
Right.
And people have been doing that forever, like way before they knew the science behind it.
Oh, wow.
But, I mean, over time, they learned more. And now we have things like freeze drying,
Right.
which uses freezing, and then this process called sublimation to get rid of moisture even better.
Wow. So from, like, drying onions in the sun to freeze-dried astronaut ice cream, it all comes back to that same basic idea, getting rid of water weight. That's really incredible. This whole deep dive has got me thinking about how we measure things, like not just size, not just weight, but like, I don't know, how valuable something is. And speaking of value, the source tells us a really cool story about a bank worker named Shahid. Oh, yeah. Shahid, I love his story.
Right. This guy could actually tell if a banknote, like if it was fake, just by like feeling it, just from the weight.
Is that amazing?
How is that even possible?
It just shows you how incredible our senses are, especially if you practice.
Okay.
Think about it. A real banknote and a fake one. The weight difference is probably so small. But he had trained himself so that he could feel that tiny, tiny difference just with his fingers.
That makes you think, like, what other like hidden talents are out there?
Right.
Like people with crazy good senses of smell or hearing. It's like we have this whole other way to experience the world, and we don't even realize it half the time.
Absolutely, it's true. We really don't. But think about it, like a chef, they need a really, really good sense of taste, right?
Right.
To make all the flavors work together. Or a musician, they use their hearing to make music. Even a doctor.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Like when they're checking a patient, they're using their senses to figure out what's wrong.
It's true. Yeah.
Shahid's story, it just shows us how important that is, how good our senses can get.
So it's like he like unlocks some kind of superpower just by paying super close attention.
Kind of.
It makes me think, like, are there ways to actually train your senses to be better?
Mm-hmm.
Could I like train my fingers to spot fake money?
Maybe not that.
Or my tongue to taste the difference between, I don't know, like a 1999 Cabernet and a 2001.
Well, probably not with the fake money. But you're right, you can train your senses.
Oh.
Think about like wine tasting.
Okay.
It's all about training your sense of taste. So you can tell the difference between different wines, even if they're really similar.
So it's about like getting better at noticing things, noticing those like little details that other people might miss.
Exactly.
Wow, this deep dive has like really opened my eyes.
That's what we like to hear.
Or maybe I should say all of my senses. We've gone from a kid measuring with marbles to like this whole world of how we experience things with our senses.
Amazing, right.
And we even talked about like how it connects to stuff we do every day.
And don't forget about those dehydrated tomatoes.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to remember those. But seriously, who knew that something as like simple as measuring could lead to all this?
It just goes to show there's always something new to learn, even in the stuff we see every day.
That's a good point. Well said. So next time you're trying to fit everything into a suitcase that's too small, remember Sarika and those marbles?
And Archimedes?
You're dealing with like the laws of volume. And if you're checking out a new spice blend or like really paying attention to how your wine tastes, think about Shahid. You might have some hidden sensory superpowers of your own. This has been The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.